here's the thing. For everybody listening, don't make the same mistake the Bengals just did in any facet of your life.
People are going to get hurt. It's the hockey season.
What about the Jared Cook play on the sideline?
I was very tempted to just put defense.
I'm saying it right now. If Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
Come on, Austin and I have been saying this ever since Joe Burrow got injured.
I don't really think the Dodgers are going to make the World Series this year. I feel like they'll make it to the NLCS.
The Fernando Tatis extension, because that really surprised me.
Like you said, Ovechkin, he's getting older. He hasn't been playing as well as I imagined. He's one of the greatest goal scorers of all time, but he hasn't started off this season as hot as I would hope.
Hi, I'm Jeff Allen, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to another NFL Opinions of the Week. We have done plenty of videos, and now there were some tough cuts. To me, this is a little bit easier to be like, okay, for the safeties. I'm not sure if the man joining me, as always, Austin, had the same problem. I was like, okay, pure the upper echelon safeties. And then the below five, I'm like, I don't really know who I can pick for this. But yeah.
I really think this list was especially difficult. I do think that it was definitely harder than maybe some of the other spots, but I think the top 10 was relatively easy for me.
I can name some top safeties, but when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, how do I rank them? I wouldn't be shocked if you didn't have 10 or 9 on here. Even there are some guys where I'm like, they've been good, but they've kind of struggled in recent years. So I don't know if you just want to get into 10.
Sure, I'll go first. My number 10 is the starting free safety for the Cleveland Browns, Grant Delpit. He didn't have the greatest year last year, but he really did come onto the scene, and I think he's a big part of this defense. Again, while we are ranking them, this is also for 2024, as we put in the title, so I think Delpit will be a top 10 safety this year.
Okay. Grant Delpit's a good pick. He didn't make my list, but he was in consideration. My 10 is Julian Love with the Seahawks. He did have one key play against the Eagles, but I think he's still finding his way. So we'll see if he has a big year, but he was like, okay, this is a guy where I think he can become a top 10 safety. But I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't.
I wish Julian Love the best. Maybe it's just because he was one of my favorite players back when I played Madden. In Madden, he was a big part of some of my best teams. So maybe I'm a little bit biased in that sense, but I do think that I hope he does the best. He's not in my list, as you may have mentioned. I wouldn't have him maybe, and I don't. But I do believe that I wish him the best. I really do hope that he has a good season.
Yeah, so I'll go into my 9. It's Javon Holland for the Dolphins. He is more of a strong safety, and I think he really has that umph and kind of what you want. He can really stop with the run game, and that's why he's my 9.
Yeah, I think that's a fair pick. I do think that he is a good player. My number 9 is Kyle Duggar. Duggar is a safety for the New England Patriots. He's kind of coming into his own this past year, and the defense for the Patriots, you got to have a good defense if you're going to be the Patriots. It's kind of the Patriots thing. And last year, Duggar really came on. This is his 4th year in the league. He had his highest approximate value. He had 2 picks. He had over 100 tackles for the first, or combined tackles for the first time in his career. And I do think he is a good player.
That's a good pick. He was considered but didn't make my list. Who's your 8?
My 8 is Marcus Williams for the Ravens. He is a free safety, and Williams is another player that I do think is underrated. I think a lot of safeties are underrated. He only played 11 games last year, but I do think this is the year he probably comes in more to his own. I still remember him with his best years were with the Saints, and if he can just play a little bit more games, I think he'll get to be a much better player.
Yeah, he is a great player. I have another safety from the Baltimore Ravens. This is kind of where I wanted to keep one from each team. I didn't want to put them together because you kind of with linebackers is like, who do you know who's really helping who in that scenario? Does this guy look better because he has this guy, or you could say the opposite? So that was a reason where I'm like, I'm just going to keep to one guy. My number 8 is Harrison Smith. He is a great safety. However, I am worried about age. He keeps getting older, so that's why he's not higher than some other guys. But to me, he still deserved to be on this top 10 list.
Okay. Who's your next?
My 7 is Kevin Byard. He has been a great safety, but I am worried about this year. The Eagles defense struggled even though when he came over. So I'm not really sure what to think of him. So this year is going to be a key year for him. Like, does he elevate himself back into a top 5 safety, or does he continue to fall down?
Yeah, Byard's a good pick. I am worried about Byard a little bit. I do think that Byard is, I don't know how necessarily to say it. He just, I don't think he's been the same since he left Tennessee, and we'll have to see how he plays.
I feel he's on the decline versus some of these guys. I think they may have had a few bad years, but I think they're coming back up. I don't really see Byard rebounding from this season.
But you still think that this upcoming year he'll be a top 10 safety?
Yeah, this year I think he'll be a top 10 safety. But I wouldn't be shocked if next year that he's not on my top 10 list.
Okay. My number seven is a player that a couple years ago I thought would be the best safety in the league, and that's Derwin James. He played 16 games last year. He was okay. He was fine. He didn't make a Pro Bowl this past year. I do think he'll return to form. I'm just worried about injuries. He hasn't played 17 games in his entire career. The last 3 he's played 15, 14, and 16. So he's still playing, but I expected him to be better, Kevin. He's still made 3 Pro Bowls in his career, and 2 of the last 3 years he's made it. But this past year, like I said, he had his second lowest approximate value of the last 3 years. This past year, he had the 3rd lowest of his entire career of the 5 years he's truly played. And I'm worried about injuries. But if he is on, he's on, and he's one of the best in the league. But again, he's had some down years, so I'm still a little bit worried.
Yeah, and that's your 6?
That's my 7.
Okay, that's your 7. Okay, got it. Do you want to go into your 6?
Yeah, my 6 is Talanoa Hufanga for the San Francisco 49ers. I know he tore his ACL last year, but he was amazing before he did so. If he did not tear his ACL, I would have had him significantly higher because I do think he's really, really good. It's just those injuries, especially for a position where you need to stay fast, you need to stay on it. It can be tough, but I still think this year he'll be back here, or he should be back by the time the season begins. And I think that if he is back and 100%, he'll be a top 6 safety in the league.
Yeah, I was concerned about his injury. That is why he's not on my top 10 list. But to me, I was like, oh, Hufanga. But then I remember the injury, and that would have been tough. So my 6 is Budda Baker. He struggled, or the defense in general just struggled with the Cardinals, and I think he is a top 10 safety. So it's just I'm expecting a lot from him this upcoming year, and I can see him shoot up the board for the top 10, but to me he deserved to be in that. He is a great safety. So he's my number 6.
Yeah, he didn't make it for me as well, mainly because he's had some bad years recently. So I am worried. We'll have to see how he plays this upcoming year, but I'd love to have him, but I do not. Who's your next player?
My guy is the guy you have at 7, Derwin James. I won't even put him higher because he was such a great safety. I was really excited when he came into the NFL. But like you said, kind of struggled with injuries. He played 16 games, as you mentioned, but we'll have to see what happens. So I think he is a great safety, and from talent alone, I just need to see him do it on the field to confirm my belief in him.
Yeah, I do think that makes sense. I mean, I said it myself that I don't really know how this is all going to work out, but I do think that when he is at his best, he's extremely, extremely good. So if he can stay that good, then I'm not that worried. But I do think that I wouldn't be shocked if injuries derail his season, even though I really don't want that to happen.
Yeah, and maybe under a new coaching staff, he gets used in a different way that benefits him more. I'm not sure if Brandon Staley's defense is what played to his skills the best.
Yeah, I think that's a fine way to say it. I definitely believe that coaching has a big impact on what we could see from players, and with a new head coach, you definitely can see some improved play.
Now, I'll just go into my 4. It's Jesse Bates with the Falcons. He was great with the Bengals and has really come over and continued to play well with the Falcons defense that we've talked about. So he deserved to be in the top 5 safeties for me.
Say your guy again.
Jesse Bates.
Oh yeah, okay. So I had Bates higher than you because that was your 5, correct?
Oh no, Jesse Bates is my 4. Derwin James was my 5. Shoot, did I skip again?
Yeah. We did the same thing in our other video. So
Oops, that's my
yeah,
bad.
it's not a big deal. It's fine. It is what it
That's
is. But I'll go into my number 5, Tyrann Mathieu. I do think Mathieu is still a little bit underrated this past year. He had a good year, and people I don't think talk about it like he did, mainly because he was on the Saints, and the Saints were not good. So that makes it seem like he was not good, but he's basically played at the same level since he was at the Chiefs with the Saints. It's just he hasn't got talked about enough because those Saints teams haven't been great, and because they haven't made the playoffs. So I still think he is a top 5 safety in the league, and so he is my number 5. But 4 through 1 are extremely set in stone. I would not be shocked if we had the perfectly same exact top 4 in order. Because we're starting.
I'm curious to see about. To me, 3, 2, 1 is in a different tier of their own.
I would disagree with that. I think Jesse Bates is in that tier. I do have him at 4, but I do think he is as good as the rest of the guys.
Got it. I will say Tyrann Mathieu. He wasn't on my list. I'm not sure what to think about him. So he didn't make my list, but yeah. Okay, so we agree on Jesse Bates. My 5 is Derwin James. Yeah, do you want to go into your 3 or my 3? Or
I'll go into my 3, and it's Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minkah is a remarkable player. There is a little bit of worries with injuries because he's had some this past year, but when he plays every game, he is by far one of the best safeties in the league. He only played 10 games last year and still made a Pro Bowl. The year before that, he was top 10 in Defensive Player of the Year voting. He's made multiple All-Pro first teams, and I think he'll be healthy this year and be a top 3 safety.
Yeah, so I think we're going to have the same 3 guys, but we're going to differentiate on the order, which I'm not really set on this order because they're all, when I got to these 3 guys, I'm like, well, I think this guy's the best. Like, I thought about putting Kyle Hamilton number 1, but he's my 3. And he kind of just
my worry again with Minkah is he played 10 games last year. I feel like the tiebreaker between those, I do think they're close, but I think the tiebreaker is Kyle Hamilton played 15 games.
Okay.
And so I think that he deserves to be a little bit higher. But I understand having Minkah above him, but at the same time, I do believe that there is a reasonable concern considering he played 10 games last year. I still think he'll be great, but I do think that Kyle Hamilton's a little bit better.
Fair, yeah, that's a fair concern to have. I think I'm just going to view that as an anomaly for Minkah, but I could be proven wrong this year. My 2 is Antoine Winfield, which kind of gives up that Minkah's my number 1.
Wow. I have Kyle Hamilton 2 and then Antoine Winfield 1. I thought Antoine Winfield was by far the best safety in the league last year. Kevin, he was 6th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. He forced the most fumbles. He had 3 picks. He had 122 combined tackles and it had an approximate value higher than any other safety in the NFL. I think he's the best safety in the league. He was remarkable that he did not make a Pro Bowl last year. He was all pro first team and 6th in Defensive Player of the Year voting, Kevin, while leading the league in forced fumbles. It didn't make a Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl's a joke already.
Well, yeah, I don't even think about the Pro Bowl. Like the Pro Bowl to me is like
how can you, Kevin? But how can you be the highest ranked player in your position for Defensive Player of the Year voting and also be All Pro first team? So apparently the coaches or whoever votes on the Defensive Player of the Year think you're good enough because he was tied with Fred Warner, and then also he was All Pro first team. So Associated Press and then whoever votes for Defensive Player of the Year think that he's the best safety in the league, but somehow he doesn't make the Pro Bowl while he played every game during. I don't. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, I don't. I just ignore it because like, what is there about the Pro Bowl? Like,
oh, I mean, think about this. The other players that we listed that you think were a tier above everybody between Antoine, Minka, and Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton and Minka both play in the AFC, so that's not even what is stopping him from making the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, no, I just like I don't. I've kind of ignored the Pro Bowl because we've talked about it. The Pro Bowl doesn't. It's a joke, like you said. To me, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm happy for the players that get to go because like, cool, they get a free trip. I don't really take into analysis. I'll look at all pros, and be like, this guy's an all pro. So, yeah, Antoine Winfield's so good, and he's had such a quick impact. And it's gonna be even tougher next year. Because I expect all three of these guys to be healthy. So we'll just have to see what happens next year. I'll let you close this one out.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Please let us know whose list you like more. Who do you think should make the top spot for safeties? I do think that there is a good bit of guys that deserve a shout. But thank you guys for listening.